Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to the channel. Episode 5 of Ahsoka, Shadow Warrior is now in full swing, and what we got was absolutely mind-blowing. For most of the episode, Anakin Skywalker had come back from the dead to teach Ahsoka one final lesson. When we first saw Anakin in episode 4, there was much speculation as to who or what he actually was. Some believed it was his Force ghost given a solid body for a brief time. Others thought perhaps that it was even the sun in disguise, the last remnants of Mortis. But here, on our channel, we have theorized that Anakin had actually ascended from his death and become the final god of Mortis. Or perhaps we could even call him the last Celestial. Although we were never given a straight answer on how Ahsoka got to the world between worlds or how Anakin met her there, we believe that through many context clues, it would seem that our theory was correct. So today, my friends, come along with us as we open up yet another holocron and talk about the divine Master Skywalker. Anakin here certainly was not a Force ghost because he lacked all distinctive characteristics of a Force ghost. Not only that, but ghosts typically manifest in the physical plane, not in the world between worlds. Anakin was able to use his lightsaber and interact solidly with Ahsoka. He was definitely whole and tangible. We also learned that he was not the son of Mortis because he did not try to lead Ahsoka to the dark side or tell her things to give himself or her power through it. Rather, he was truly teaching her and trying to get her to learn a lesson about herself and about the Jedi. Teaching her about learning to evolve as a Jedi and evolve within herself. Because of how the whole sequence ended, with Ahsoka waking up in the water, it is tempting to believe that it had all just been a simple vision. However, it seemed as though the show was going out of its way to show us that this was not a vision. With Jacen Syndulla able to hear the lightsabers in the water, it was far more real than a vision granted by the Force. Not only that, but Anakin knew things that Ahsoka would not have known. Therefore, it couldn't have been from her own head. The moment that Anakin challenged his own apprentice to a duel, Ahsoka said, "I won't fight you," to which Anakin simply responded, "I've heard that before." While many have said that this is what Ahsoka said to Darth Vader during their duel on Malachor, what Ahsoka actually said there was, "I will not leave you, not this time." When Anakin says, "I've heard that before," this is an undeniably clear reference to how Vader and Luke interacted in Return of the Jedi aboard the second Death Star, an interaction that Ahsoka would have no knowledge about. Ahsoka had certainly been metaphysically transported to the world between worlds. It seems with Anakin's themes of live or die, perhaps it's implied that Ahsoka was in a state of limbo. She had been dead, but not exactly. Her spirit, or essence, went to the world between worlds rather than being instantly dead and transported into the netherrealm of the Force. And now her master, giving her another chance at life. This was likely due to the fact that she had pieces of the daughter left behind in her. Rather than being dead, she got a redo. We know that the daughter's influence follows Ahsoka even into the world between worlds. We know this because Moray was there during the Rebels series. This was not a metaphorical world between worlds at all, but was rather the real thing. And within the world between worlds, Anakin was the master, the influencer of it all. He was the balance that was previously held by the Mortis gods. Anakin is able to manipulate all around him with no effort whatsoever. We feel as though this was foreshadowed in the Clone Wars. If you remember on Mortis, there was a moment when the father forced Anakin in using his power to dominate the son and daughter. When that happened, the day turned to night and the floor began to glow. Let's analyze that scene a little more closely now though. The circles and symbols in the sky, as well as the way the floor glowed in a starry pattern. It looks almost identical to the world between worlds, and all symbols that pertain to it, especially in the ones painting on Lothal. I believe that when Anakin was using his full power as the Chosen One on Mortis, he brought a little piece of the world between worlds to Mortis itself. Or perhaps, Mortis exists as a portal between the physical plane and the world between worlds. Either way, it shows that Anakin's destiny was to always become this being which controls this plane. The world between worlds obeys his command. He is able to shape it around him with apparently a mere thought, even to the point where he can take himself and others to any point in time without needing gateways, or even needing the other person to join him willingly. Anakin himself also seems to be able to change his appearance and shape reality around him as he sees fit, as he could alter his own appearance and cause visions of Vader to flash around him. In this realm, Anakin Skywalker is no longer a person. He is not a Jedi. Perhaps he isn't even the Chosen One, but something far more, an entity like we've never seen before. The calling him a Mortis god doesn't even feel right anymore, as he seems even beyond this, his duties proceeding in the afterlife, and beyond. Now, we can only compare him to in Legends continuity, and only very brief mentions in canon to the Celestials. What is clear though, is that at least in this point in time, we theorize that Anakin Skywalker has accepted the duties of the father, the son, and the daughter. He represents the light, the dark, and the balance all at once. Again, at least at this point in time. But back to the Celestials, and going even deeper. While we don't know exactly what the Celestials were, only that they were a race of extremely powerful builders who could use the Force in a way that was impossibly powerful, so strong in fact, that they remain theorized to be the strongest entities in the galactic mythos besides maybe the deep legends Bedlam spirits. The Celestials are responsible for the Great Hyperspace Barrier, and many technological marvels that establish the galaxy as we know. From all that we know, they could have been the very first Force sensitives. It's even possible that their entire people were a race of chosen ones, basically meaning they were all like Anakin with insanely high potentials, the literal children of the Force, akin to perhaps gods. Anakin may in fact be the very last of the Celestials. It was foretold by the Father that this was Anakin's destiny. The ones themselves were not even celestial beings, but were distant relatives or descendants of the race of Celestials. The son drank from the font of power, and the daughter bathed in the pool of knowledge, both of which were dark and light side nexuses of the Force respectively. The father would indulge in both, and these nexuses, mixed with their celestial DNA, they managed to become representations of the dichotomy of balance, light, and dark sides of the Force. All of this to foreshadow the coming of one who would take their place, and basically become all three. A being perfectly centered in the Force with total mastery of the world between worlds, to forever control it and keep the universe together. The very last Celestial, the very last builder, the last child of the Force, Anakin Skywalker. Now admittedly that part of the Celestials is a bit of a stretch, as it's entirely possible that Anakin, being the first and only child of the Force, has his duty to maintain balance, and the Celestials were simply an extremely powerful race of Force sensitives that predated even the Mortis gods. Nonetheless, we thought it an interesting part of the theory to impart upon you, even if we ourselves don't believe it entirely. What we do believe though, is Anakin seems to have mastered both sides of the Force, as he is able to provide Ahsoka with a great deal of knowledge, and urge her to make decisive action with her life, something which is inherently light. Then to push his point home, he embraced the dark side, and decided to poke the bruise she had about Vader. He allowed himself to literally become Vader, to target her feelings of insecurity, of indecisiveness, to push her to make a decision. In the end though, Anakin Skywalker truly is the balance between the light and the dark sides of the Force respectively. The duties of the Mortis gods, the light, the dark, and the balance, now belong to Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker is no longer seduced by the dark side, he has mastered it. He has accepted what happened to him in his life, and has long since moved past it in a way to where he is now perfectly in balance. My friends, this is full potential Anakin. But of course, what do you think? What were your thoughts on this episode, and Anakin using the world between worlds? Do you agree with our theory? Could Anakin be the last Celestial, or is he simply the chosen one and child of the Force? As always, my friends, thank you so much for giving me your time, and may the Force be with you.